Hi, thanks for joining us for the Green Living Festival. We are the Earthway Center, the Sustainability Division of the Missouri Botanical Garden. I'm Jean Ponzi, Green Resources Manager on the Garden's Earthways team. The Green Living Festival has been coming to you this is our 19th year and our first virtual year, a first for so many enterprising humans. Ameren, Missouri is presenting the festival again this year. Thanks so much to Ameren, Missouri for energizing these efforts to connect you to sustainable solutions, options you can use for green living every day. We have 3 dates of festival events. Saturday, June 6th, Green Living Day. Tuesday, June 9th is Energy Day, and Thursday, June 11th is Naturescaping Day. And on those days, we will have a live panel. We'll have some family and kids activities. We will have workshops. You can join our exhibitors and learn about exhibitors through exhibitor interviews like this one at any time, and find all of these resources and connect to them and register for the live events at mobot.org/greenlivingfest. Talking in this segment with Samantha Villaire. She is a recycling program specialist with St. Louis City Recycles. That's part of our City of St. Louis agency, Brightside, and is coming to us from the St. Louis-Jefferson Solid Waste Management District. So recycling, in my experience, the #1 green activity that humans of all ages and all persuasions think about when doing something green. Samantha Villaire and St. Louis City Recycles, your team does a great job, I think, with giving us good visual information like this Stick with the Six Recycling 101 message. Why is it so important to tell people over and over and over again what we can and cannot recycle in our home recycling?
Well, thank you for having me, Jean. This is great. So it's really important to stick with the 6 because if you don't do that, we have what our bottom things are, and that's our contamination. A lot of valuable materials. And the reason that we need to just stick with the 6, and that's our things that go in the blue bin, is so that when they get to the recycling facility, the materials recovery facility, or the MRF as we call it, they need to be able to be sorted separately. They all have their own designated place, and they all have their own designated area where they need to be going. If we have contamination in there, it can decrease the value of the valuable materials. And in turn, we might not be able to sell those later on. So keeping contamination out and really kind of thinking like, does this go in my blue bin or is there somewhere else to put it, is really important. On top of that, not bagging our recycling is another big issue that we face here. Bagging our recycling kind of defeats the whole purpose too. So just leave your items loose, clean, and dry. Keep your lids on, and if you don't see it in the bin, you can contact me and I'll let you know if you can put it in there. That's what I do.
Brightside and your team, Samantha, has developed a terrific database of places that people can recycle stuff that can't be included in our home recycling bin. And I know we can find that at stlcityrecycles.com. Really, really good work on that.
Yeah, that came to fruition way before my time. So I'm very grateful that that was already kind of in place and to be able to build on that. And it's a wonderful resource for the residents, not just in the city of St. Louis, but the whole metro area, as to where can I take this item to keep things out of the landfill, to reduce our waste for those hard to recycle items like our paint and maybe our light bulbs and our plastic bags and things that we don't see on this Stick with the 6 list. Where do we take it? And we've got a really great resource for all the residents in the whole metro area of St. Louis to utilize. So that's really great.
And you've got the Recycle Responsibly logo there from OneSTL, our regional sustainability movement. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But Samantha, this is the St. Louis City Recycles. I am a city resident, so these are the recycling requirements that apply to me. But I know that there are a few municipalities in our region and some different regulations on the Illinois side. When you get out into the more outlying counties like Jefferson or Franklin or St. Charles, might be little variations. So this is the basics And then there might be a little bit more simplification, a little bit more paring down from here. How does someone who doesn't live in the city find out what they can and can't recycle in their municipality?
It's a great question. So my first, I guess, recommendation would be to just check with your local municipality.
Mhm.
Because as we do say, this is region-wide, but there are different restrictions and different haulers and things like that. So I always just tell people, check with your local municipality. Most of that information is available on the website. If I can, I try to research and provide them with that information myself. Um, but most areas are the same. However, we get up to like St. Charles, St. Peter's, it gets a little bit iffy there. So there are definitely some asterisks on our stick with the six.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think we're pretty uniform. And I think as we've kind of discovered, about 85% of all of our waste in the St. Louis metro area does go to one particular recycling facility. So
Mhm.
that, 15% there is a little bit just caution. And that's why there are programs like us, thanks to the St. Louis, Jefferson Solid Waste Management District and the Missouri Department of Natural Resources, where we can provide those resources to people and help them find ways to, keep stuff out of the landfill. And
Right.
as I've learned from you, the landfill exists for a reason, so it is there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, to keep the waste out of there, we do a lot that we can.
Right. And what I always like to say about landfills is they're cited and permitted and operated and maintained to contain stuff. But if there's still useful life remaining in something like plastic bottles or paper products or metal containers, and you have a system in place like single stream recycling in your home, use that system. And then don't squirrel with that system. There are other systems that can handle other stuff. It's like you don't necessarily go to, I was thinking about an analogy before. This is kind of a dorky one. You don't necessarily take your dry cleaning to the pharmacy. Personally, I don't take dry cleaning anywhere, but if I did,
Right.
I would take it to the dry cleaner, right? So you send the thing that goes to the system that's geared to handle that thing.
It's a good analogy. I like that.
I couldn't think of any better ones, sorry.
I like it.
And then just really briefly, Samantha, on the bottom of the list there, run down, I know you're going to say more about plastic bags, but just say a little bit about like why no food waste, why no styrofoam or food serviceware?
So these are all what we, like I mentioned earlier, our contamination, and then these are our top contaminants. So we asked the MRF, what do you see? And these are the top ones that they came back. So the food waste, I think, we go right now, especially we're getting all of our takeout. We got these styrofoam containers. Well, it's kind of tricky because on the bottom, which you probably can't see, there is a recycling symbol on here. So it gets a little tricky. And you say, oh, wow, there's that recycling, the Mobius, that looks familiar. I'm going to just throw that in my recycling bin. Well, unfortunately, this recycling symbol really just tells the producer what type of plastic it is. So this styrofoam, is a number 6, whereas our plastic bags also have that symbol on there. So it can get a little tricky.
Yeah.
And that's where we say, do you see it on our stick with the 6? Don't see it on the list, don't put it in the bin. So
Yeah.
people might just throw these in there with the food inside. A lot of takeout places right now with Chinese, and they all have food in there. So people just put them in their bin, probably trying to do the right thing. And unfortunately, it's not.
Yeah.
And, we've got our utensils that come with our styrofoam, and those also have a little Mobius on there, and they are plastic. But again, just because it's plastic doesn't mean that we can recycle it. So it's a lot of learning. These one-time use disposables are really, really impactful, especially when we have barbecues and we're having these gatherings, whether they're social or distancing or not.
Should be.
We're going to have our paper plates and our napkins and our plastic utensils. And while people want to do the right thing, it can
Backfire,
do the opposite. Yeah.
Right,
backfire
right.
is a good word.
Let's just zip through more of your slides here, Samantha. I think you want to show us a little bit about some of the outreach and the education that St. Louis City Recycles does.
So this is just a little snapshot of some of the things that I do with St. Louis City Recycles. We attend a lot of school presentations when things were a little bit more normal.
Mm-hmm.
We do 2 to 3 school presentations a week. We also like to get involved with the parents, so we'll attend parent-teacher conferences. We do community events at parks and all over. City department trainings. I'm a city employee, so we go to new employee orientations, go to different departments within the city and try to get everyone recycling. And all the tools that we provide, again, is the great funding that we get from the St. Louis-Jefferson Solid Waste Management District and the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. So without that, we would not be where we are. So everything that we do is just, we're so grateful to have that grant money and to get out to the community and educate and provide the tools and the knowledge and the resources and get everyone recycling responsibly.
Yes. St. Louis-Jefferson Solid Waste Management District, a supporter of the Green Living Festival, and they generously donated their spot and among our exhibitors to St. Louis City Recycles to get this kind of education out there. So you, tell us more about plastics, Samantha, just really briefly. I know you have a slide that shows, why can't we put recyclables in plastic bags in our bins anymore, or any other kind of plastic bag in our bin?
Right, that's a good question. I hear that pretty often. Well, why can't I bag my recycling? And it's pretty convenient just to throw it in there, right? Well, if you think about it, that bag looks like a bag of trash. So when it gets to the recycling facility or the materials recovery facility at the MRF, more often than not, the first line of defense are just a couple of workers that are on the line and they're pulling things off, and they're going to pull that bag of recycling off because it looks like a bag of trash. So kind of our motto is, if it looks like trash, it might get treated like trash. So unfortunately, everything needs to be loose, clean, and dry. It might seem kind of weird to just empty loose things in your, blue dumpster or your roll cart, but that's really how things need to end up at the facility to get sorted and to their proper place.
And if you give your bottles a rinse and your jars and your cans and all that a rinse, it's not like you're putting a lot of glop. We don't want glop in the recycling. And then plastic bags, people have been participating in plastic bag recycling at many different retail chains, but that is suspended now for the time being because of COVID concerns. What can people do if they want to, don't want to just put their plastic bags in the landfill right now? What are a couple, like 2 top things you can do, Samantha?
The first one obviously is you just save them. Things will eventually get back to a certain normal at some point, and hopefully those kind of resources will continue. But a way to also reduce your plastic bag waste is to just kind of avoid that. I've been bagging my groceries at my car. So I'll just tell the grocer, the bagger, hey, I'm gonna bag my stuff at the car, and they're more than happy to not bag my groceries. I'll tell you that. They're busy, so they're more than happy to just throw everything in my cart, and I'll go out there and it's a little bit more time, but that's okay because I'm still using my bags. I'm not using a lot more plastic bags.
Right.
So those are just my 2 little tips, I guess.
Right. Those are good tips. I when I've been in stores, which is rare, but I do go in, I usually go to senior shopping hours. I will look for a cardboard box, like a banana box or another kind of box. And when I'm in the store, and when I get to the checkout, the checkers have been really happy to put the stuff in the box. And then when I get home, I put that cardboard box in my recycling. So there's a couple of really good options for dealing with. If you have produce bags or bread bags, you can use them for picking up pet waste when you're walking your dog. You don't have to be buying new bags. So plastics, still alternatives to plastic waste. OneSTL, Samantha, briefly, let's just cover that.
Yeah. So OneSTL is, we are part of the materials recycling group, and that is kind of just a collaboration of individuals, organizations, community partnerships that are really just working together to reduce our landfill waste and just meet some sustainability goals and increase the education. So these 2 little slides you see here was our OneSTL Recycle Responsibly workshop. And we invited community members. We were at the Julia Davis Library and some other library in the city. And people came in and we just kind of educated about recycling. We had a fun little game that it was actually a lot more fun than I anticipated. The residents really liked that. So that was cool. But yeah, we just try to get together and educate about recycling and answer any questions that the community might have.
And from OneSTL, our regional sustainability plan and its goals, there is a partnership addressing recycling. I am personally a part of that, and the Earthway Center, Missouri Botanical Garden is a part of that, with Brightside, with Earth Day 365, St. Louis County Department of Public Health, City of St. Peters, wow, Madison County, Illinois, many different
There's a lot of us.
organizations. Yeah, there are a lot of us, and we're, recycling advocates working to get this message out and working to get as clear and consistent a message as possible. You're, again, doing a really good job there, Samantha.
Thank
And
you.
go to your last slide there, your contact information, please. This is where at stlouiscityrecycles.com, you can find the database that I mentioned, terrific database of places to recycle stuff that can't go in our home bins.
Yeah, and also you can follow us on social media too. We do a really fun Trash Tip Tuesday, a What Not to Do Wednesday, and a Fast Back Friday. So we're always trying to get the education out, and we love the comments and the questions, and that's kind of what fuels us. So follow us if you don't already. If you have any questions, there's my contact information, and email me, call me.
Excellent. Samantha Villaire, working with St. Louis City Recycles. They are one of the exhibitors at the Green Living Festival this year, and a very, very valued partner, not only in the city of St. Louis, but in our bigger circle of recycling advocates, of green peeps working on this stuff around town.
Well, thank you, Jean. You're definitely a driving force in what we do, and we appreciate everything you're doing, especially these trying times. So I appreciate you inviting me to speak with you about recycling.
Yeah, you bet. So thanks for checking out our exhibitors. In these exhibitor interviews, you can contact them with questions, and when things get a little bit more back to circulation, when we can do that safely, as Samantha said, lots of opportunities for recycling presentations around the community. There are also opportunities for virtual presentations for your organization or for your school. And we have more recycling resources amassed and available for quick links and informative views at mobot.org/greenlivingfest. Those are the pages, the web pages, the virtual home of the 19th Annual Green Living Festival. Coming to you from the staff and volunteers of the Earthway Center at Missouri Botanical Garden, presented by Ameren, Missouri. Thanks for checking these out. Thanks for the green things that you do. I am, from the Missouri Botanical Garden, Green Jean Ponzi, reminding you to recycle responsibly. Recycle responsibly. Recycle responsibly. RRR. Thanks.